You ain't cool unless you pee your pants.
Wow. Yes, queen. Go off, girl boss. Pussy hat slay.
Cool, Dad. What is that?
Some old Indian thing.
What's it for?
Well, I don't know much about Indians, but I do know tools. And if I had to guess, I'd say you jam one of these in the back of a white man's skull, twist the handle like so, and then your blood runs out through the hole here. Yep, that's what it's for.
All right, neighborinos. So, what we have here is a wine cellar archive. All right, and I'm calling it I'm gonna call it aged wine, right? That's what when I repost the archives, I will post them as aged wine and the original air date and recording date. And the whole episode is getting removed from the podcast feed. The original podcast feed, it's gone. It is from January 17th, 2017, and it is going away. And the whole episode will be behind Patreon and posted as an unlisted YouTube video. But this segment from the Patreon will actually go ahead and be public because we want to go back and show folks some of the old Russian news in line with the fascistic propaganda and legislation passed out there. All right, and also just showing you what it's like doing these show notes, right? Like when we were really getting into like thinking maybe we should tell people exactly how many articles you have to read to get a goddamn story straight. All right, so let's go ahead and re-air that from the Wine Cellar Archives.
Fuck sex workers, fuck women of color, fuck undocumented women, trans women.
Niggas should get the fucking, the Bayhive to push Beyonce Knowles to support sex workers' rights.
That would be pretty fucking amazing.
What's up, Bayhive? Hey, y'all niggas can flex on me. I don't give a fuck about popular culture. Y'all niggas can get mad at me all the fuck you want. I'm not, and you can find me on Twitter. All my tweets are auto tweets. You can link me to everything. I won't even get the notification. I don't give a blue fuck.
Yeah.
All right, we better head off to Russia.
All right.
You see the tab, wine cellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's them right there. So let's see how these three different news outlets cover the Russia domestic violence bill.
Right, so I feel like I need to like sort of preface this with saying, you know, there's all this like fake news. How do you know who's real and how do you know who's fake and how do you know whose bias is fucking up the story? So we're gonna read three different articles from three different places about the same exact bill, and you can see how drastically different each one is. And this is why it's important to look at multiple sources when examining a story and trying to figure out what's going on. Don't just go to your one like, oh, I like Rachel Maddow, or I like MSNBC, or, you know, I like right-wing. You need to expand. Get the fuck out your echo chamber for 10 minutes. It's good for you. All right. So on Right Wing Watch, it is titled Pro-Family Leaders in Russia Want to Decriminalize Domestic Battery. Two of the, quote, pro-family lawmakers behind Russia's ban on homosexual propaganda are now behind a bill that would downgrade assault inside the traditional family unit from a criminal offense to a misdemeanor. Many U.S. religious rights activists have become enamored with Russian leaders behind such pro-family policies, claiming that Russia is leading a resurgence of traditional conservative values in the West. The bill, which Baumforth says is keeping in with the conservative values espoused by President Vladimir Putin and has been protested by anti-domestic abuse activists, appears to have strong support in the Russian Duma. Olga Batalina, a parliamentarian with Putin's United Russia Party and author of the bill, is a leader of the so-called pro-family movement in Russia. So she's like Phyllis Schlafly, basically.
Phyllis Schlafly.
Schlafly?
Yeah.
Damn. I'm gonna go with Schlafly. She championed the law banning the spread of propaganda of non-traditional sexual relations among minors, commonly known as the homosexual propaganda ban. She is a, quote, close ally, fellow parliamentarian Yelena Mizulina, an author of the anti-gay law and one of its most vocal supporters, and she joined with Mizulina in filing a slander lawsuit against prominent gay rights activists and others who commented about the law. Gay Star News has noted that Badalina even backed attempts to stop bookstores from selling gay-friendly literature. I like how they're doing all this lead up into a story about domestic violence to talk about her anti-LGBTQIA record, first of all. I noticed that. Mizulina, who has ties to American anti-LGBTQ activists, is another prominent supporter, calling the current statutes on domestic violence absurd. President Vladimir Putin appears to have backed the bill when he was questioned about interference with the family. Many American religious rights activists have lauded Russia's pro-family laws as a model for the world and have admired Putin thanks to his crackdown on LGBTQIA Russians. Indeed, this faction's love for Putin's homophobia often leads them to either ignore or stay silent about the ways Putin's government has marginalized non-Russian Orthodox Christians by outlawing evangelism and backing anti-Protestant militias in Ukraine, his granting permission for polygamous marriages and imposition of Sharia law in Chechnya, not to mention his record of crushing dissent and stifling civil rights and democracy. Right? So they did all that, but they didn't tell you shit about the bill. That was the entire article. It was entirely about their, I mean, we should talk about their anti-LGBTQIA stances, obviously, but the entire thing is about Putin and anti-LGBTQIA things, but the title is...
And see who wrote it?
Brian Tashman.
For Right Wing Watch.
Yeah, but the leader is pro-family leaders wanted to criminalize domestic battery, and it was two sentences of the entire fucking story, right? And then it's also on CNN, and we probably shouldn't trust CNN because the angry hair crow says that they're fake news. So I've heard. CNN says, there's an old Russian expression, if he beats you, it means he loves you. Now in a chilling reminder of that sentiment, Russian legislators are moving toward decriminalizing some forms of domestic violence. Women's rights groups fear it will reignite a problem that still plagues much of Russian society. The Duma has passed a bill in its first reading that has been dubbed the slapping law. The pending legislation would consider an assault, if it's a first assault that does not seriously injure the person, an administrative rather than criminal offense. The legislation would also apply to children. The bill's sponsors include arch-conservative Senator Yelena Mizulina, and says the proposed law would simply bring the family law into line with reforms passed over the summer that loosened punishment for minor assaults. Mizulina has called existing laws anti-family and a baseless government intervention into family affairs that allows prosecution for just a scratch. Mizulina, a staunch proponent of traditional values, was also the author of the so-called gay propaganda law, which prohibits propaganda of non-traditional sexual relationships. The Russian Orthodox Church, with its emphasis on traditional family norms, is also influencing the debate. So are tradition rules of Russian family life, including the Mostroy, a centuries-old manual prescribing strict rules of behavior requiring absolute submission to head of family. But women's rights groups say domestic violence has an insidious hold on many Russian families, and they fear that decriminalizing assaults will only encourage more violence. Activist Elena Popova has launched a petition on Change.org demanding the Duma pass a completely new law against domestic violence. So far, more than 174,000 people have signed it. Petitions have had an effect on government decisions before, but it's unclear whether this one will change the minds of lawmakers. Official data on domestic violence in Russia is not centrally collected, so it's hard to verify, but the state-run agency RIA Novosti reports that 40% of serious crimes in Russia are committed within the family, 36,000 women are beaten by their husbands daily, and 12,000 women die yearly as a result of domestic violence, one woman every 44 minutes. So that gives us a little bit more about the bill, right? You know. But wait, there's more. The Independent.co.uk also covered this story. And they framed it as Russia to decriminalize domestic violence to preserve tradition of parental authority. So we started with one who said it was a pro-domestic violence and then talked about LGBTQIA issues. One who said it was pro-domestic violence and talked about domestic violence. And now one who says decriminalize domestic violence to preserve parental authority. Same fucking bill. You wouldn't think so, right? Like, okay. All right, a bill aimed at decriminalizing domestic violence to preserve the tradition of parental authority has passed through the first stage of approval in the Russian parliament. Ultra-conservative MP Yelena Mizulina, who chairs a committee on family and women's affairs, proposed the bill to have battery within families taken out of the criminal code, removing the right of victims to press charges. In Russian traditional family culture, parent-child relationships are built on the authority of parents' power. The laws should support that family tradition. The proposed law was approved with 368 MPs, with only one coming out in opposition. One coming out in opposition. All right. In July last year, Putin oversaw an amendment to the law that declared family violence a criminal offense for the first time in Russia. Ms. Mizulina and her supporters have been protesting the ruling ever since. Battery carried out toward family members should be an administrative offense. You don't want people imprisoned for 2 years and labeled a criminal for the rest of their lives because of a slap. The decision was strongly opposed by women's rights activists who believe the new legislation will make victims of domestic violence even more vulnerable, according to the Moscow Times. These lawmakers believe that fines for domestic tyrants is better than criminal liability, says activist Alyona Popova. According to Russian government statistics, 40% of all violent crimes are this is the same one, right? Oh, wait, no, it's not the same one. 40% of violent crimes are committed within families, 36 women are assaulted by partners every day, and 26,000 children are attacked by parents every year. In 2015, the United Nations urged Russia to address its domestic violence epidemic by introducing new legislation and establishing shelters for vulnerable women. So, what the fuck is going on with this bill? According to 3 different news outlets, one, it's about LGBTQIA issues.
Yeah.
One, it's about domestic violence from husband to wife. And one, it's about parents beating their kids.
All right. You keep rolling. Did you send the boy to the bathroom to shower?
Yes.
I'm gonna make sure everything's okay.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, that's what's going on with that. And I think that that just speaks to the importance of requiring yourself, challenge yourself to look at things from multiple sources, look at things from multiple places, because everyone has a slant. And none of these are necessarily fake in what they said, right? This isn't like fucking Breitbart. They're just making up shit that's not true. All these articles are true, but only reading one of them will not give you the full scope of what is going on. And that is why it is important to step outside the echo chamber, right? This is why show prep takes us so long, quite frankly. You know.
Damn right.
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to click on the link. Tony Loco from the old Black Atheist group